Good day, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We're going to begin today in Russia. That's where Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has safely arrived as part of an international tour that began on Sunday. Maduro was received at the airport in Moscow by Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Alexeyevich Rabko. The Venezuelan president later held a meeting with Russian officials where he expressed his solidarity in the face of destabilization attempts by the United States. Now, following Russia, Maduro heads to China for a meeting with the community of Latin American and Caribbean states. He will subsequently be traveling to member countries of the OPEC cartel, including Saudi Arabia. Back home in Venezuela for Maduro, Maduro has announced a series of new measures to combat economic sabotage he blames on Venezuela's conservative business sectors. Maduro announced the creation of a strategic reserve fund in the nation's currency, the Bolivar, as well as 5 lines of strategic action to revive the nation's economy. And we're going to take a closer look now at President Maduro's economic announcements. The Venezuelan president approved 100 billion bolivares, that's $15 billion at the official exchange rate. He approved them for the country's reserve fund, and he says the money will guarantee pensions and social programs. Now, he also announced the creation of the National Center for the Evaluation of Foodstuffs. He says that measure will maintain the supply of basic commodities as well as fair prices. And finally, Maduro announced new leadership for the National Center for Foreign Business and a strengthening of the Venezuelan Export Corporation. We turn to Mexico now, where family members of the missing students from Ayotzinapa are accusing the nation's army of participating in the crime. Family members and classmates of the missing students say they intend to symbolically occupy military barracks throughout Mexico. The announcement came after supporters of the forcibly disappeared 43 students held an assembly to maintain pressure on the Mexican government over the ongoing case. The parents suspect that the students are being headed inside military barracks. They have repeatedly demanded the barracks be open for inspection. The request has so far been denied by the Mexican Attorney General. And today, many Mexicans are celebrating one last tradition of the holiday season. The custom is for children to launch balloons with notes explaining their desires and wishes for the year. This year, some families will make wishes for the 43 disappeared Ayotzinapa students. Here's our correspondent, Clayton Kahn.
Here in Mexico City, children and parents launch balloons with notes explaining their wishes for the coming year. However, this year, these families are putting a twist on this Mexican holiday tradition.
With this double action for Ayotzinapa, we are trying to make children more conscious and understanding of the fact that there are more important things than material items, as they almost always ask for toys.
While Mexico still protests over the forced disappearance of the 43 Ayotzinapa students, many parents say they grapple with raising their children in a context of widespread insecurity and corruption.
When I planned to be a mother, I never thought that I would need to explain to my 5-year-old girl that there are 43 disappeared boys and that the government is implicated and that we are all vulnerable.
However, some activists say they are convinced that the continuous protests and actions like these will help in producing justice in the Ayotzinapa case.
It seems that through our demands and our actions, we will be able to get them to tell us what happened to those 43 youths.
While it has been 100 days since the students were disappeared by police in Guerrero, their families and social organizations vow to increase protests in the coming months. Clayton Kahn, Telesur, Mexico City.
And thanks to Clayton, we go to Guatemala now, where the 88-year-old former dictator Efrain Rios Montt is on trial once again. Rios Montt was found guilty of genocide in 2013, but the judgment was later annulled for procedural errors. The former dictator will again be tried on Monday for the genocide of indigenous peoples in the north of the country during his regime in the 1980s. Montt's former intelligence chief, José Mauricio Rodríguez, will also stand trial. The prosecution accuses the former dictator of orchestrating a policy of exterminating the indigenous people who identified with the left-wing guerrillas during the nation's armed conflict. Taking a look at world news now, the 114th U.S. Congress is preparing to begin work on Tuesday. The congressional session will see conservative Republicans attempt to roll back President Barack Obama's decision last month to restart diplomatic relations with Cuba. Their resistance to Obama's decision comes despite polls showing most Americans back the change in U.S.-Cuba policy. Republicans such as Senator Marco Rubio, opposed to any normalization of ties with Cuba, have also pushed for the U.S. to take more hostile measures against Venezuela.
On numerous occasions. And what we saw yesterday was, despite the numerous
In France, President Francois Hollande says that Western sanctions against Russia should come to an end in order to resolve the conflict in Ukraine. In a 2-hour interview on France Inter Radio, Hollande stated unequivocally that in order to achieve progress in talks between Russia and Ukraine, the economic prohibitions imposed on Moscow must be lifted.
I think the sanctions must stop now. They must be lifted if there is progress. If there is no progress, the sanctions will remain.
We go to the Middle East now and Palestine, where Palestinians are celebrating entrance into the International Criminal Court. Here's our correspondent in Palestine, Noor Herzine.
As the Palestinian people are happy and excited about the decision of the Palestinian government to join the ICC, the International Criminal Court, in a way for them to be allowed to charge Israel war crimes that were committed in Gaza and the West Bank. But the people here are sad because one of the biggest crises that they are suffering, which is the electricity power cuts and the incidents that is caused by these problems. 2 days ago, 2 Palestinian children died because of electricity problems in the Gaza Strip.
Thanks to Noor. We end today in Argentina, where participants of the Dakar Rally have finished the first stage of competition. Riding a KTM motorcycle, Briton Sam Sunderland beat Paolo Goncalves by 5 seconds to win the opening stage of the 2015 edition of the rally. A total of 406 competitors are participating in the race of approximately 9,000 kilometers. That's 5,500 miles. The race crosses Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.